Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Meredith. Welcome to our home in Lake Norman. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Meredith Beregovski. I'm the owner and lead designer at Georgia Street Design, and this is my home on Lake Norman in North Carolina. I became a designer really by happenstance. My mom sells real estate. I was actually in the wedding planning industry, had started my own business and bought a building that I was renting out for parties and events. She had a client that moved here from California, and she said, "Oh, I'm looking for an interior designer." And my mom said, "Oh, my daughter's really great at that," and gave her my information. And I said, "Mom, this lady is looking for a true professional, and that is not me." And she said, "Actually, I think she's pretty laid back and she would probably hire you." And so lo and behold, I called her and she did. And then referral after referral, got business and gained, and then just kind of grew with my staff and started in the back of my house. And here I am now, a little office in Charlotte, North Carolina with projects nationwide, and it's just been really honestly a dream come true. I feel like I'm living my true passion for sure. So there are so many things that drew me to this house, but at the time that I was looking for property, I was looking for something either at the beach or something at the lake. And the lake is about 50 minutes from my house in Charlotte, much more manageable, but I love the beach. You'll see lots of little things around my house, lots of shells, things that I've collected from travel. This house came on the market. It was a little above my price range at the time, and then about 30 days later, it became reduced. And so I clicked it back to my mom, again, who sells real estate, said, "I think I want to see this." And at the same time, she sent me the property. So it kind of felt a little bit like it was just meant to be. We came to see the house immediately. I drove up and I was like, "I want it." I was excited about it. I think everyone that knew me was terrified. This house really hadn't been touched since 1978 when it was built. It very, very dark interiors, kind of like a mustard on all the walls, the trims, the ceiling. It had kind of a shag carpet going through it, a really interesting, strange galley kitchen. And then the outside was just really sad. There was a big building out in front of it, like a garage and like a shed. It was just gross and mildewed. And then the outside of the house kind of had this Swiss look to it. It had like a diamond shaped pattern in the windows. It had an air conditioning on the front. Everyone was like, "What are you doing?" And I just could see it. I knew immediately, like, this is the house for me. It's a project. So thinking that I could maybe just move in and do a couple things turned into completely gutting this house and redoing it. It's been the best decision I've ever made. I've had so many memories here with my friends, my family, my son, who's 10 years old, which I think he'll kind of always remember as like our first house together post-divorce. And it's just been this really, really wonderful space. It just makes us happy. Every time I drive in the driveway, it's like kind of this release of any sort of stress. And even though it wasn't perfect when I bought it, I still felt that way when I came inside. This is my living room. Some of my favorite things in this living room are this coffee table that I had on my wish list for a really long time, mostly because it displays some of my favorite things. This sculptural piece of art I got from one of my favorite art vendors. Don't really have a lot of history on it. It came from New York City, but I just think it's interesting the way it has this chain link detail. And I like art in all forms. So I like sculptures. You'll see that I have a bust on the other side of the room. Just really anything that's speaking to me is what I'm gravitating towards, and I'm obviously pulled by color as well. This fabric is a cotton and tout fabric. I love this fabric as well. And then you're kind of back to your coral motif of anything that reflects the ocean is something I'm always going to gravitate towards as well. This sofa has been recovered so many times. This is probably on its third fabric. I love the line of a sofa. I always talk to my clients about making sure that you buy a sofa line that you will want to recreate over years to come. So this is so cozy, so comfortable. It reflects everything I want to feel in this house. And I think at the end of the day, you feel like you can put your feet up on it, which is really important as well. The coffee table is a statement piece. It is a very large piece of limestone, and it just has this live edge, really interesting look to it that I love so much. It is so heavy. It takes 4 guys to move the top of this table. And I know that because As a designer, I get the itch and I want to move my room around. And every time I'm like, do I want to move it around enough to call 4 movers to come and move the table? But it is on a base of different pieces of driftwood, and you can kind of organically move those around as well. So this is something that I've really loved. I always have fresh flowers in my house. These are some that I got out of my yard, and then I had my friend Laura from City Stems help me bring some filler in, but I love to do flowers. It's one of my other passions, but I think interior design is my wheelhouse. Some collected shells, love a coffee table book. I do actually read these. I like to sit here on a Saturday or Sunday with my coffee and look at them for inspiration. That's what this house is to me. It is inspiration. It is inspiring. It's so comfortable and calm. I can kind of get back down to ground zero. This piece of art is one of my favorite things in the house. It is just a vintage piece of art that I found in Charlotte. Her name is Airy, and she is from California, and she does these really beautiful coastal scenes. It's from 1987, and I find that art that's older, probably somewhere between the 70s and 80s, are always my favorite. I love the use of color. And so this has just been something that I've liked to have as a focal point. The lights on either side of the art are also something that I had on my wish list for a long time. They're visual comfort. I think they're non-assuming. You can use them as art lights and put them above something. They come in a lot of interesting shapes. You can actually use them outside as well. And I just think they're kind of funky cool. I like them, and I love anything brass, anything in that kind of natural finish that's going to live with you and age with you. I think is also kind of a beauty of the house as well. The fireplace was a complete overhaul. This fireplace was very big, stone, gray, heavy, dark, and kind of the overall feeling of the house, I wanted it to be toned down a little bit. Everyone was kind of using these fireballs at the time, but now I'm seeing them more and more and more, and I still haven't stopped loving them. I love the way that this feels. It's a little bit more of a modern vibe. I just like this clean, sleek mantle that my carpenter worked on with me. I didn't want anything other than just really a display case for some of my favorite things. This living room rug was the start of the design. I started with this rug from Stark Carpet, fell in love with it years ago, tacked it up to a pin board in my office, and thought one day I'm going to use that somewhere. And then by the time I was actually able to use it, it was the last remnant of it, and it actually happened to be the perfect size rug for this room. I love this small scale pattern. I love the color of it. It kind of pulls everything together. And then just in terms of architectural details in this space, it's one of the only spaces in this room of the kitchen, living, and dining that has a ceiling. And something about that just makes it feel like it kind of encloses in, and it gives that tight hug to the room. So naturally, this room just feels a little bit more snug because you have the drop ceiling here that goes up to my master bedroom. But it's just a really great vibe. And although it is an open concept, it still feels like its own little space, but still open up for entertaining when I have guests over. Lamps are some of my favorite things. I love to always, look for new lamps. I'm constantly scouting them for work, and I keep just a little list of things that I'd like for my house. This was one of them. I just love this kind of natural rattan braided material. I think it's really pretty, kind of like almost a wicker. Same thing coming down the post of it. I think it's really pretty. The chairs are the most comfortable chairs you've ever sat in. They are Highland House. I actually bought them, or I ordered them exactly like they were on the showroom floor, which I never do. I feel like it limits your creativity, but it's just this really great, almost like a fleece material. And I'm sure most people are like, I cannot have white chairs in my house. I have kids, but I have a child, I have dogs, and they have just held up so well. And you just feel like you're laying in it, or sitting per se in a cloud when you're in them. And so these have just been great. They swivel. They're really extra deep. So if you have someone that is tall, they're really comfortable, and they've just been a great foreground in this space. And now I'm going to show you my dining space. Now that we're in the dining space, one of my favorite things about this is the color, and I got to have a little bit of fun with the banquette. Again, just that laid back casual. The space is really not that large, so most of our entertaining is actually done outside, but this fits 6 people comfortably. Sometimes I just lay down on this banquette and read a book and look outside, but it works for us. It's casual, a little bit modern. My design style is all over the place. These are French antiques. It just really depends on kind of what I'm in the mood that day. But I feel like if you buy what you love, it always ends up working out to work together. This is George. This is the center of our family. He's the best dog ever, and he'll just kind of follow me around on this interview, I'm sure, because he wants to be a part of all the action. The dining chandelier is something, again, that has traveled with me from place to place. I have lived in several different houses over the last few years, and this light fixture is beaded. It's hand beaded all the way around it, and I just can never part with it. So every time I'm moving one space, I will always pack it up and take it with me. It's just so unique and pretty, and it has a really interesting detail to it. So you'll probably never meet a person who loves a Persian rug more than me. I love any sort of Turkish carpets, Persian rugs, Oriental rugs. I think that they're really beautiful, and I love that the way that they can transform a space or bring color in. Again, like in the whole entire house, it is a wind-borne white. It's just a very clean white with all of my trim. It's fair and ball railings. And I feel like when you bring in rugs like this, it's like you could have white walls, but you get such a feeling of warmth and pattern and color and texture. Also works off of like the Schumacher fabric that I have on my banquette. I love Schumacher. I use a lot of their fabrics. But just hunting for these, looking for them is just, for me, one of my favorite parts of my job. And now I'm going to take you into the heart of the home, our kitchen. So now that we are in the kitchen, I can give you a little bit of the background. This kitchen used to be a galley right off of the front door. So you would walk in through the front door, and then you were immediately lined by kitchen cabinetry. You couldn't see the view. You couldn't really see any of the windows at all, actually. And it felt very tight and restricted. So I decided we actually have some great space here. Let's take what was the dining room and make more of this open concept kitchen. And I'm just so thrilled with the way this turned out. I really do think that you can pull together your favorite things as long as you do it in an organized way. I love the color green, and I love that when you come in the kitchen, of course, you want to have the outside come inside. So the screen doesn't really compete with that. And then the white marble, it works with the white walls. So your eye is still going to outside, which is really the point of this. I wanted to be able to work in this space, entertain, that sort of thing, have my child sit up here and have breakfast, but I didn't need a big kitchen. I am not a cook. So it functions and it works really well, but it's also, open and airy to the rest of the house. Two of the things that I love the most in this kitchen are the backsplash and the stove. Again, like I said, I'm not a big cook, but I do love beautiful things. And this is my favorite. This Ilve stove is just really, really pretty. I like brass accents and how it goes with the rest of the finishes in the house. And then the tile backsplash, I actually came up with this tile design specifically for this space, just kind of laid it out with the person that I work with in the tile showroom. And I just love it. It's easy, it kind of works with the walls, but it gives it a little bit of pizzazz. And then also this little nook, I thought I love little things. I love picture frames. I love displaying, little knickknacks and things. So that little niche has been great. It's been perfect for that. And it kind of, again, creates that feeling of this is our home. These are the things that are special to us. And I'm constantly reminded of them. The color change in the cabinet was really just a reflection of my favorite color. My favorite color is lavender, and the cabinets are that color. They kind of play as a neutral. When you walk in, they almost feel like they have a little bit of a gray undertone, but I know that they're purple, which makes it special to me because when you live by yourself, you can pick whatever you want. And this cabinet actually traveled from one of my other houses. It is a furniture piece that I really built the entire kitchen around. I use this cabinet to display all of our china and everyday dishes and things that we use because while it's beautiful, there are not a lot of upper cabinets in here. And so this is a great use of space for us. So you will notice in this kitchen and really all around the house, I love picture lights and any sort of sconces. And sometimes in your own home, especially being a designer, you want to do the things that sometimes is a hard sell to your clients, the things that maybe they don't want to put that extra money into these special features and things. So for me, I love these sconces. I think they add just a really soft touch to the kitchen. I did my own custom shade, and I love a scallop that has a little bit of a lavender detail on it to go along with my lavender cabinets. So this kitchen did need to be functional, and it really is that. So much so that when we finished our renovation, my son walked out on the back porch and I asked him to grab a water for me out of the refrigerator. And he came back on the porch and he said, "Where's the refrigerator?" So we have these, nifty refrigerator doors and freezer drawers. And then we have our pantry over on the other side. And now I'm going to take you to the coffee station. So in this space, I use one of my favorite wallpapers. This is a Philip Jeffries wallpaper that is just a very thick seagrass material, and it's spun together with a lavender thread, which I think is a nice tie into the kitchen when you walk into that space. And then voila, this is the coffee bar. So originally intended, again, to be somewhat of a storage area, more of a traditional mudroom. But when I realized I didn't have enough pantry space and I wasn't going to be able to put my coffee in there, this came to life. So this space, this pulls out in the morning. I store my coffee cups. Sometimes I have some champagne bottles in here for mimosas. I have drink drawers at the bottom, and then an ice maker over to the side. So really in this house, every bit of space is utilized. We are always, in our jobs coming up with new innovative ideas. And this is my favorite to date. So these are all of my coffee pods that whatever mood I'm in the morning, that's what I choose from. So this was something that was completely necessary, but also a little crown jewel of the house. So I started the renovation process almost like wholeheartedly, like the entire thing. Again, when I bought the house, I thought I wasn't going to do very much. I was just going to paint the walls and maybe put in some new carpet and paint the cabinets. Then I got in here and it just started to really feel like mine. I was like, no, this house needs a little bit of Meredith. It needs to have a little bit of a lighter energy, lighter color. So I really started the design like I do everything else. I just started with the whole concept of how do I want the hardwood floors to be, the walls, that sort of thing. And then there were some things that kind of played out organically, but it really was just a full gut renovation at one time. So I started with like the wood paneling details on the wall because the wall behind me had wood paneling naturally on it, which gave me the idea. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna save some money and I just won't do that wall because I'll just paint that. But that didn't work out the way that I planned. And of course I had to rip all of that off too and completely redo it as well. Went with a dark exterior. It just kind of felt like calm, non-assuming, little edgy, and something that would just feel like you were tucked away. Like if you drove here the whole time when you're driving through these windy roads in the country, you would think, where am I going? And then you drive in and you're like, wow, this is so special. It's kind of tucked at the end of the street. You come down the hill, you can see the lake in the background, and it's just a little slice of heaven. So I worked on that. I knew the landscaping was really important to me. I have a koi pond out front that I put in. I love animals, I love fish, I love plants. So that kind of all worked together. So that's like a nice little thing that you pass as you come to the front door. So really, I was like collecting ideas and doing the work also at the same time. But it was a time in my career where I really had time to do this. I had the time to put all of my energy and effort. And I think that's how the universe works. Like you're handed what you can take on at the time. And this is really was meant for me. So I've reconfigured the kitchen completely because it was a small galley kitchen. And then I kind of worked my way into like the bathrooms, and it just at one point was all down to the studs. And here we are back into its little nugget box that it's become this really special space. Now I'm going to take you up to my primary bedroom. Actually, one of the only things that stayed in this house is the spiral staircase, and it's actually going to lead you up to this room. We are in my primary bedroom. This space was actually starting out a 7.5-foot ceiling. And I just knew from an architectural standpoint and clearly from the design of the roof that this must go up. So completely took out the ceiling, raised it up, added the beams in the space just to kind of break your eye a little bit and for structural reasons. And then went around the room with this paneling detail. I spent a lot of time with my trim carpenter, probably drove him crazy, going around this space, kind of coming up with how wide this flat panel piece needed to be. And then also the little detail that you see as the quarter round, how wide that space needed to be. This just turned out to be a room that has a really high ceiling, but you don't get lost in it. It still has really pretty details that are interesting to look at, and you don't feel like you've lost the extension of the great architecture in the main floor of the house. So like I said before, I like a lot of different styles of interiors. This is a mid-century modern bench, but then you have your antique bed, and then we kind of go into some softer neutrals in my bedding. Always love anything Matuk. I think they do a really beautiful job with bedding. And this is one of the prime locations of my house just for me to sit and relax or reflect in the morning. A lot of times you would find me here meditating. George is also, this is his lookout spot. So he has an extra large dog bed, but this looks out to the koi pond, and I just absolutely love this piece of furniture. So the window treatments, the fabric on this day bed and also the fabric on the shades are the same. And sometimes I think when you're looking in a space and from a design standpoint, it's like, what are you trying to pick up on? And again, here it was the outdoors. So I remain everything the same pattern. I love a stripe. You will find stripes all over the place, and even in my wardrobe. So this is just a really subtle tan and cream stripe by Schumacher. Again, another tried and true fabric by them that I've really liked, and has withstood the dog paws and all of the different things that get on top of this. This is kind of an interesting detail right here. These cabinets were something that I included. Again, because the house is really not that large, there's not a lot of closet space, and I have a lot of clothes. So there's a closet on the other side of the room that I'll show you in a minute. But these are just built into the dead space of the A-frame part of the kit of the house. And so this houses all of my clothing, towels, etc. So like I was saying downstairs in the living room, I love vintage pieces of art. I just think that it's nice to bring that life back into the house. This really, I was more so attracted to this by the way it's framed. I've never seen two pieces like this that run continually, where the matting and everything is following the border of the piece of art. I just think this is really beautiful. And of course, I love the colors in this as well. I think it's pretty obvious how important lighting is, but here, this ceiling pendant, when you look up, that's really the most beautiful part of the light fixture. It's not something that you need to look straight onto, but really the beauty comes from underneath. And so I like to just look up and see that. It's also beaded in the same way that the chandelier over the dining table is. My primary bedroom is an open concept to the main living space. So there's no way to close this off. And that's why I have this screen here. It's just a nice bit of privacy. If I have family members over or any sort of company, I can close this off in the morning. And it also blocks out a little bit of the morning light as well. And then this is the other side of the closet. This runs all the way down behind my bed, but it's a very narrow space, and you really don't get a lot of that overall closet space. So that's why I created the drawers on the other side of the room. I did wallpaper all of my doors in the house. I think that this is a really interesting texture and just a nice added touch. Again, something that a client probably wouldn't do, so I needed to do it in my own home. This space right here obviously houses the television, which if you know me well, you know I don't really ever watch television, but I do love this shelf. This is the chimney flue that goes up behind it, and I added this in so that I would have a little place to display all of my favorite things. Occasionally I do need to work from home, and so as you walk up the staircase, you're kind of greeted by this sweet desk space that houses usually fresh florals, always a candle, and always a photo of my son. And now I'll show you my primary bathroom. Welcome to my primary bathroom. This space was originally the closet. It was a very small walk-in closet and a tiny bathroom. And I love to take a bath. So I knew that I would need to incorporate a bathtub into my space. So I used both the closet and the bathroom, join them together as one thing, and continue with my marble choice because I just love the way this white feels in the space. Striped wallpaper, back to my love for stripes. I have a little bit of a continuation of that throughout the house as well. This vintage mirror that I got from Etsy that I just think is so sweet, and it's fully beaded, has a little floral design in it. It just adds a feminine touch to this space. The shower has all the bells and whistles. It has the rain head, the handheld, the shower head. I was like, you know what? If you're going to do it, just do it all. Back to my favorite spot. I love to take a bath at the end of the day, and this is such a relaxing space to do that. A couple of my favorite little artifacts from travel, always fresh florals, and a candle is a must. And here we are with another Persian rug. This one adds a perfect amount of muted color. It's also a great bath mat, so I think it's a win-win. I saw this railing in an Elle Decor magazine years ago and held on to it, had it folded up, and it just so happened that I needed to replace the railing in this house. So this was the inspiration behind this. My carpenter is truly a craftsman. He cut out all of this detail. This was a black wrought iron. It felt a little heavy for the house. At first I thought about painting it, and then I went with the ultimate. It's like opening up a can of worms when you let a designer do their own home. The view, it just speaks for itself. It's so nice to wake up in the morning and to walk out to this space, and you really just the overall feeling. It has such a gravity to it, although it's such a wide open space. The ceiling beams were original to the house. I just had them stripped and I had them restained to the same color as the hardwood floors. My design style is probably one of the hardest things for me to define. I can tell you so much about my personality, but my design style, I think, is just a reflection of who I am. I think it is, this calm shell of, this white, bright, surrounding, within filled with like pops of color, interesting things, interesting items that I've collected over years. It is a transitional feel. I have things in here that were my grandmother's, but then I also have things like our coffee table that came, straight out of the earth. So there's a little bit of old, there's a little bit of new, but overall the vibe was just for it to feel really calm and open and airy, but also to give you a hug when you walk in. This hallway leads to my son's bedroom. It's one of my favorite places in the house. But before we get to that, I love this little moment that I have in the hallway between the guest bedroom and my son's room. I had a little bout with skin cancer last year, so most of the time you will find me in a hat. I love to cover my head, and I also love the beach. So any sort of beach hat that I can find, I add to my collection. My design assistant gave me this one that I love so much. It actually has my initials on the side of it, and it's lavender. And then this is a collection of my shells. So anytime I find a really interesting or unique shell, I'll display it in this case right here. And it's just a nice reminder of all the fun places that we've traveled together. And then I'll bring you into my son's room. This is my favorite place in our house. I think that his nursery, was my favorite when he was a baby. And then this space, I wanted something that would grow with him. I wanted a space where he could bring friends and they could stay in the bunks. These two bedrooms, the guest bedroom and his bedroom, are mirror image of each other, and they're actually not very big. So went with this kind of a unique design that I, again, worked on with my trim carpenter, 2 double beds and then a twin bed. And he kind of uses this if he wants to watch a movie, almost uses it like a day bed. But then it's enough to sleep 6 people. So it's really nice. I love a blue and white room for a boy. I think it's such a classic feel. This is a wallpaper, kind of goes back into my feeling of a stripe or a plaid, just a very subtle detail that's on the wall. And then the art, I just love Mary McGuire. I love the things that she does. This whale just reminded me of the two of us together because she's obviously pregnant with a baby in her stomach. And I think that this is just a really fun nautical piece of art that is a bright, fun pop. And then in here, I went with the denims. It's a really rich blue that has a little bit of a gray undertone to it. And the beam, I traveled to South Carolina to find. This is an old railroad tie, and it just makes it that much more special. I love the beam in this room, and I love the tie back and the connection to what was here pre-existing in the house when we bought it in the living room. Not that any of us love when our kids watch TV, so I like to have a little distraction. I love that these windows also overlook the koi pond as well, and that he can look out into nature when he's in his room, when he's reading, doing his homework, that sort of thing. He has a lot of natural light and a great view of the front part of our property. When people walk in my home, of course, I want them to feel very comfortable. But I think when you walk in the front door of this house, there's always a moment of like taking your breath away, simply because of the way the windows are set up. A lot of people have heard of an A-frame. Not everyone's been inside of one, but you really have to walk in and get that overall encompassing, open feeling from the kitchen to the living room. The nature kind of speaks for itself. So there's a lot to take in, but I just want this to feel like a retreat to people, like they're on vacation, but they also feel comfortable. Like there's nothing they can break. There's nothing they can put their feet up and really enjoy it in the same ways that we do. And when we go out of town or we know we're not going to be here for the summer, we're always opening up our home to other people, people that work with me, people that are close, or just somebody who's reached out to me on Instagram and said, wow, I really love that house. I'm like, come be here and share it, because it's meant so much to us. I just want other people to be able to enjoy it as well. And now I'm going to take you into my guest bedroom. This space is actually a little cocoon. Every person that comes and stays in this room always says that they slept amazing. I think it's this grass cloth that I put on the walls is the most beautiful, rich green. It feels like the outdoors are coming inside. And then I love this fabric. It's a Lily Wallace fabric that I use here on the shades and then also back to the bed. I like for guest bedrooms to feel intentional, for people to think that you actually thought of them, that you wanted them to be comfortable. Always keep a little water by the bedside table, tissues, and then I try to incorporate even potentially cookies if I'm really ahead of my game, so that people feel like it's a hotel, but it's also someone's home. As much as I love art, I'm also really drawn to framing. And with this piece in particular, I love this bamboo frame and this brass detail at the top. And I love that it's a really small print, but it has a large framing around it, as well as the matting is kind of what makes the piece stand out. Again, just something interesting for guests to look at and to feel like they were thought of. This is a vintage chair. I'm not sure that anyone should actually sit in it. It's not the most sturdy thing in the world, but it's very pretty. I always give a little like preemptive, don't sit in the chair. But this dresser, I think, is so pretty. I was just really drawn to the inlay detail of it. It has a floral pattern in the center of it, and then almost like this herringbone cross. It's something really pretty to look at, and I think it shows the craftsmanship of the piece. And then again, with my picture frames, I don't have a ton of shelf space. I don't have a lot of built-ins in this house. So I took a moment to display some of my favorite pictures, some of them taken in this house and on the property, but then also just some of my favorite moments of my life. We are now in my son's bathroom. It's on the main floor of the house. So this is also where guests usually come to use the restroom as well. I started with this fun Cole & Sons wallpaper. I just love a puffer fish, and it just has all this great color to it as well. I use a natural stone detail on the floors, green tile, and I really just had fun with this space. This urban electric light is really neat. I used a custom fabric on that as well. And then I love a Wheezy towel. We have a ton of Wheezy towels in our house, and I just think this is just a nice little personalization that you can do in any bathroom. My favorite thing about my home is the way that it makes us feel. I think that it truly does feel like home. That is something that I am always trying to create for my clients. I think I'm trying to get inside of their brain. What do they like? What makes them feel good? You know, when I walk away from the project, it is, you know, maybe I come over for a glass of wine, or maybe you invite me in for coffee, but I don't live there. So it's really important to me, like a part of my soul, to make their home feel like theirs. And here, I feel like I've achieved that. And I do feel like at a pretty young age, you know, I just turned 40 in November. We've had this house for almost 10 years, and it just feels like such an accomplishment to have a space that you walk in and it's like, oh yeah, this is totally me. I've created that feeling for my family. So that's my favorite thing about the house. But just in terms of an actual thing that's in the house, my favorite thing in my house is my gravel driveway. There's something about the sound of the crunch of gravel on your tires that just brings my stress level to a zero. So driving up to that, hearing that sound, and then getting out of the car to the koi pond, those are my favorite features of the house by far. So this home is on the lake, so I want to show you around the property. This is a deck that runs all the way around the house. It goes from the side entrance through the front, all the way around the back, and it's just wonderful for entertaining. It's also because it's up on the second floor, basically, you feel like you have this overdrop view of the lake and all of the property that surrounds it. Like I said earlier, I really love this dark exterior. I think it's just a non-assuming color. It's railings by Farrow and Ball, and it's just kind of accents everything else around it. The warm wood of the teak deck, the plantings that are around the house, and of course, I went with the Dutch door. It's just a really warm welcome to the house, and I love a gas lantern. So I placed those strategically around the house where I wanted a little bit of extra warmth, but didn't need the extra light that you would need from a non-gas lantern. This outdoor dining space is where we have most of our meals, and this deck is amazing for entertaining. It wraps all the way around the house. It gives a lot of extra seating, and then it has this beautiful view of the lake. The koi pond is undoubtedly one of the nicest features of the house. It is a little mini pool. Sometimes I wish I could get in there with them, but I have found that having koi pond is actually really easy to maintain. They eat the plants around. I actually don't even feed them, but I do love to look at this, and I do love to plant it seasonally. This gravel driveway just makes me so happy. I think the gray color, the texture of it, and obviously the crunch that I spoke of earlier is just a great element to coming up to a natural space. The Virginia Scotchy ceramic pieces, I have a few of them around the property. I love the color that they add and just a little bit of visual interest. And then my grandmother had this statue in front of her front door. And so when she passed away, I then took that, and it's just a nice reminder of her as I come up the driveway. So I have a 10-year-old son, and I knew when I was designing the property and overall the lay of the land that I wanted to have some green space, also a flat yard. We play a lot of soccer here. We throw the football, and then it also transitions into more hardscaping and more space where we're entertaining. I think that these railroad ties, they're just a really, really nice texture, and they feel sturdy and secure. And we've used those all the way down the pathway to the lake. So flagstone patio, again, we sit down here and have fires and do s'mores. And sometimes this is where I host my parties. The pathway down to the lake was really important to me. So I spent a lot of time designing this. We originally had a raised staircase that was made out of wood, and it was actually stained the most horrible orange color you've ever seen. So I went with natural materials. I continued the flagstone down to the lake, and then I did the railroad ties in a curvature that just feels really natural to obviously a really beautiful and the highlight of the entire property, the lake itself. Home to me is the place where you feel ultimately you can be yourself, that you are completely comfortable in your skin, that you feel happy, you feel safe, you feel calm. And for me, that's exactly what this house does. It makes me feel completely at ease. It brings out a creative side of me. It brings out my love for nature. It gives me my time with my dog. It gives me my time with my child in the water. It really does just encapsulate all of the feelings of what life is for me in my happiest place. Homeworthy, thank you so much for coming on a tour of our house on Lake Norman. It has been an amazing experience showing you around, but it's time for you to go because I need to get on the water.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.